Good morning. There is breaking news this morning about the investigation into a missing Fargo woman and the man and woman in custody on suspicion of kidnapping what police believe to be her baby. 22-year-old Savannah Graywind was 8 months pregnant when she disappeared last Saturday. Police now tell us they have a days-old infant seized from the apartment of her upstairs neighbors, the last place Savannah was known to be. We are going to go live now to a news conference at the Fargo City Commission room where Fargo police are set to talk about the ongoing criminal investigation, the case building against the two alleged kidnappers of Graywind's infant. Good morning. It's just after 8 a.m. Thanks for joining us for your only local news from 7 to 9 a.m. I'm Emily Welker. Adam is off on assignment. He is live in the field at one of our most popular city parks where police just hours ago nabbed the man wanted for allegedly murdering his own father. We're going to bring you much more on that story as it develops this morning. But first, we're going to start off the hour with a check of the weather.
They're all about the butt rubs.
They sure are. They sure are about the butt rubs, just like my big boy at home. I don't have anything like this, though. This is
kisses.
This is not a dog, though. I mean, we need to be clear. If you were to meet a wolf in the wild, what's the best thing to do?
If you are headed to the Hector International Airport, you may want to double check that your flight is still heading out. We've got some breaking news for you this morning. A man is dead this morning, a woman in custody in an overnight shooting out in Norman County.
We're out here along I-94, just a few miles west of Castleton. It's the Wheatland exit, and you can see investigators are still here. They have been working hard through the night trying to pick up the pieces and figure out what happened with this crash. The scene considerably cleaned up from what it was earlier this morning. A really horrifying sight for westbound commuters. Blood sprayed across the interstate from this crash. I talked to investigators, and they think what happened was the pedestrian killed was for some reason walking along the interstate when he was struck by a semi that was headed westbound. That semi driver obviously dealing with some pretty horrific sights himself this morning. He's been taken to the hospital to be checked out for shock.
5 on the Dow Jones average.
And that's unprecedented in the market's history, correct?
Well, you know, not necessarily totally unprecedented, but it was certainly a big rise.
Yeah.
And it got a lot of people pretty excited, and I'm excited.
Right.
You know.
But we have talked about the fact of the markets, which is what goes up pretty much must come down. This is a pretty significant correction here, correct?
Well, you said the magic word there, Emily, correction.
New this morning, a fire marshal is expected on scene today at a house fire that appears to be arson, according to firefighters. They responded to an abandoned farmhouse 4 miles north of Christine, North Dakota, around 10:40 last night. Fire Chief Randy Monson is saying the house was fully involved when crews arrived.
42 degrees, really going to be in the 40s throughout the weekend and in the beginning of...
Did you hear that crash,
Yeah.
Scott? I'm
Yeah,
thinking
I did.
that's our precip happening right outside the studio.
I don't know.
The weather is just falling.
Falling upon us all. Man,
Yeah.
but you know, that little pumpkin there sparkling away, that's the light at the end of the tunnel. I think our trick-or-treaters are probably
Yeah, it's looking good for Halloween.
All right. Thanks so much, Scott.
Yeah, they're just like little kids running around with
Right.
2 feet.
So if you are looking to bring this beautiful little kid into your home, I happen to have a real little kid. I probably am not up to the task, and I'm pretty sure my husband would kill me. So, yes, that was funny. Thank you.
Astride his ATV,
I have duties in the herd.
Ken Collish looks just like most other farmers here in the upper Midwest.
You know you're not supposed to be over here.
But with Collish,
Good, baby.
like with his herd, appearances can be deceiving.
They're not afraid to take anything on. They'll kick the crap out of a dog. They'll stomp a coyote. They'll team up and kill wolves. There's nothing they're afraid of. Lorenzo.
Like every person, Collish says every llama has a story.
Llamas live to be between 20 and 25 years old, and Rambo is 23 this year. Come on, girls. Come on, Salvador. You know you're supposed to go in now. Come on.
And every llama needs love.
They have to have at least one other llama to talk to, because it would be like you being in solitary confinement. He's thinner than he should be because he spent so much time fighting.
And then there's Kevlar, who came to Collish after someone shot him with a 20 gauge.
And it took me from December to August to close up that wound and get all the bugs out of it and get him back to being able to be the duck butt he really is.
Collish says among this gang of fluffy assassins,
These are my charges.
There are power struggles.
Their instinct is to try to castrate the opponent with their teeth. And I don't know, I think that would probably encourage me not to be a llama.
Nevertheless, Kalish has become the head of the herd.
Come on, big boy. Oh yeah, I love you too. Yes,
after defending his position against Oscar, who's taken a run at him.
The reason that Llama ran up there is that Oscar snorted at me. So that was Llama coming over to say, hey, is there going to be a fight? Can I put money on the winner?
There are lots of reasons to have a pair of attack llamas, but Kalish has 30.
I don't find them, they find me.
Each one is a rescue. Their care cost him $35,000 last year.
I'm just a nice, safe place for them to be until they find a real permanent safe place. Peach!
So when it comes to expecting the unexpected...
Come on, Devotion, get over here.
Remember the killer llamas.
They are, without a doubt, splendid animals.
And remember Ken Kalish. "15 minutes ago, Denise Majerus was the owner of beautiful riverfront plant nursery.
There's flat upon flat a baby, little tiny, because we start everything from seed.
Now she's taking her pets and her computer and leaving her babies behind a dike that's slowly melting back into the river.
It's, kind of scary. Like I said, I was standing right next to that wall working on my sump pump within 10 minutes of the time it happened.
Across town, this homeowner's basement is part of the river too. Crews are working to stop the water leaking in under the Hescos, but they keep getting stuck in the mud.
You gotta have the right attitude. If you stress over it, you're gonna give yourself a heart attack. There's nothing you can do.
The stress levels in Valley City may be nowhere greater than here, where the river is pressing up against the dikes. You can see they're almost up to the top. There's not nearly as much freeboard as they wanted, and they're set to come up yet another half a foot before it crests.
The mayor admits his calm reassurances are designed to keep people from taking on too much stress.
I always hate that word, which is it's too early to panic. It's always too early to panic. You have to plan and take care of things as they come.
Majerus says in evacuating, she knows her fight is lost. But since she can't afford to start over, even the peace of losing won't come soon, with all she still has to worry about.
Paying my bills. I gotta pay for all those plants, dead or not. Oh.
Some of us look at a church and its faithful and see sanctuary. From the sounds of it, they came straight from basketball practice to be
Well, he started one already.
a step from the mainstream world into the past.
Over here, it's more about Indian culture.
Like any other teenagers, their identities are still forming.
It makes me feel, good inside, just like all of us together as one person just singing.
In this class, these high school students will discover who they are by going back to who their people are.
In our belief, there's different spirits that take care of different things.
It's a culture where drums have souls, and the Ojibwe language has a spirit.
In order for my own learning and for my students here learning, I pray every night and I offer my tobacco, and I pray every night and I ask that spirit to help me out.
But that spirit is dying, not for lack of prayers, but for lack of speakers.
When I went into boarding school, they tried to assimilate us by not using our language. But I came back home and continued to use it.
Most did not. White Earth tribal elder Joe Bush is one of the 24 or so fluent speakers left. Only one is under 55.
Did they just stop teaching it speaking it at home? Maybe they did, I don't know. My parents never. We always heard it.
So White Earth educators are bringing the language back into their lives by bringing it into the schools from day one.
They have animals, counting, but our curriculum goes up to like 100. This one.
We sit in. I don't know how many will come back for our third year, and I think they could really learn the language if they would just pursue it.
It's not just the usual difficulty of motivating kids to come to class. Sometimes the kids have to be the teachers.
But then they leave the school, they go home, they talk to the parents. The parents don't know what they're talking about.
So there's a generation in between that doesn't have it.
Adrian Liberty teaches that generation at the tribal college.
And when you heard it, it touches you inside. It wakes something up in you that I believe that all in the Anishinaabe, we have that.
He was raised in a series of foster homes. Only one spoke Ojibwe.
When I was removed from my people, my culture, however you want to say that, I've carried around a big hole in my heart.
He says that hole, the part of him that was missing, came together when he rediscovered the language.
What we need is to know who we are, in our hearts.
He isn't alone.
What makes us who we are, and it's our language.
From your heart, you got to know who you are and where you're going and what you're going to do.
We don't have that. How can we call ourselves Anishinaabe?
Ojibwe word is animas.
And without the words for what you are, how can you say who you are? Emily Welker, KVLY, News 11.
All right, thanks so much, Marshall. Well, new this morning in good North Dakota fashion, the first snow of the season is arriving in October. Maggie, there's another question that I have for you. Visibility could be an issue, especially with those wind gusts we're talking about really kicking up. What was it like on the drive-in? Was the visibility okay? Have you noticed it getting worse through the morning?
It got tremendously worse as we went on.
All right, thanks so much, Maggie. We'll see you again shortly. You guys stay safe. Police are tracking down relatives this morning of a man whose body was found in front of a house in Grand Forks. Officers called to 720 North Washington Street about 10 a.m. They found a man there dead. Police have not released his name. They're looking for the relatives to notify them first. Officials have not said if there are any signs of foul play. The body of a woman was discovered Saturday at Lincoln Park in Grand Forks. In that case, police say there is no evidence of foul play. Her body has been sent on for autopsy. A state representative from Montpelier is facing new drunk driving charges just a month away from his bid for re-election. Craig Hedlund, a Republican who represents District 29, was stopped by State Patrol troopers on I-94 in Stutzman County. He refused a chemical test. Hedlund Farms, he's served in the House since 2003. An ATV driver is facing criminal charges this morning after killing a mother of 7 in a drunk driving crash over the weekend. Emergency responders say Carla Shield was pinned under the ATV on the Sioux Line Trail in Pierce Township. That scene is just east of Little Falls, Minnesota. They pronounced her dead at the scene. Eric Scholl was charged Monday with being drunk when he crashed his ATV. A sheriff's deputy says Scholl smelled of alcohol, was unsteady on his feet, and had bloodshot, watery eyes. Another passenger in the ATV group told authorities they'd been drinking at a bar before they left together. Well, a lawsuit filed this morning by an angry landlord is alleging the city of Fargo violated his rights when they condemned his property. Pete Szabo owns the Bison Turf and some 40 rental properties throughout the city. He's seeking damages of at least $156,000, attorney's fees, and return of his house at 427 15th Avenue South. City inspectors declared the 2-story rental property dangerous because there were numerous building code violations. They ordered him to tear it down within 30 days, or the city would do it at his expense. His attorney says the city exceeded its authority and violated state and local laws. More weather news. Hurricane Michael set to make landfall as the biggest storm to hit the Florida Panhandle in decades, now classified as a Category 4 storm. Pretty soggy out there on the Panhandle.
Heading up to the Carolinas where they're just getting over Florence.
Double whammy.
Yeah.
Well, we've got our own weather troubles to talk about. Don't go away. We're going to bring you another live look coming on later in the show. We're going to hear from meteorologist Max about what the conditions are like from his perspective out there, and a story about roads and bridges needing repair. Okay, this may not be the most reassuring timing as you hit the road for your morning commute in a snowstorm, but a new report out says the entire state of North Dakota is riddled with roads and bridges in desperate need of repair. All right, well, Senator Amy Klobuchar is asking for a federal investigation into an outbreak of a polio-like disease that is paralyzing Minnesota kids. AFM, which is acute flaccid myelitis, is a serious nervous system condition. It causes patients' muscles to weaken. The Minnesota Department of Health says AFM has infected 6 Minnesota kids since mid-September. The CDC has acknowledged 362 cases of the condition have been reported since 2014, and that indicates that the rates of infection are increasing. Klobuchar is asking for the Center for Disease Control director to share the plan to address the infections with the Senate. Now, the pushback against legalized pot in North Dakota is underway this morning. A group working against Measure 3 on our November ballot says states that have already legalized weed aren't reaping all the benefits that they were promised. They say it's also a bad idea to legalize marijuana in the midst of our opioid crisis and that we need to do more research. Now, some people over on the pro-marijuana side were also at this meeting to hear out their opponents.
This is a decision that will affect every single person in North Dakota in ways most cannot likely imagine.
They do have some, I feel, legitimate concerns, but I feel for the most part they absolutely do not outweigh the benefits from what can happen if this does pass.
Well, Measure 3 is one of 4 measures we're going to be asked to vote on in the November general election ballot. We're in the home stretch now.
Yeah, less than a month till election time and all those ads ending.
Speaking of home, if you can stay home this morning, maybe take a break, go in later. It's not a bad idea to do it because the roads are pretty rough out there. We're going to take another live look coming up in a bit. But first, business. Don't miss it. Good news for the rental housing market this morning. Not so good news for small business owners and their confidence heading into the holiday shopping season. And David Asman is bringing us more in this morning's Fox Means Business.